All right, so thank you everybody for joining us. We are going to cover a few issues with or topics that have come up since the launch of the OSP, primarily Clever and how to use and manage Clever. I think a few families are running into some challenges with that. So what I will be doing is kind of just covering the preliminary information, and then Joe is my man and he just knows it Clever pretty much inside out. He's the one that was tasked with figuring it all out. And so the first thing I will point out for Clever is that there are 5 subscriptions that we didn't find out until after we launched, but there are 5 subscriptions that are not compatible with Clever. So there will be no application or link in Clever for those specific subscriptions. The 5 subscriptions are let me go to the OSP just to confirm, so I make sure I'm not missing anything. Adventure Academy, Beast Academy Online, Time for Learning, Minecraft Education Edition, as well as Accelerated Reader. So those 5 subscriptions, there are no applications within the Clever portal, so we will not be able to put those subscriptions into Clever. Now, the good news is for Adventure Academy and Minecraft Education, those actually are both downloads. So you will receive an email with the information on how to download the application. So those have to actually be downloaded to your computer, and there isn't really any way to access that through Clever anyhow. Now, Beast Academy Online and Time for Learning are online based, and so you will receive a separate email from both Beast Academy as well as Time for Learning with the login information, and you would be able to access those subscriptions directly online. Joe will show you how to add the links. If you've opted into that subscription and you want to add a quick link to your Clever platform, then Joe will walk you through how to do that and really make the most of your Clever portal for both you and your students. Accelerated Reader, that one is a little tricky, and we just kind of actually just got off a call with Renaissance to really work that out. So in terms of the username and password for that one, we're still trying to figure out how to get that out to everyone, because it's associated with your Star 360 accounts, which are what we use for the testing in the first part of the year and the later part of the year. And that information comes directly from your teachers. We don't want to burden our teachers with that information right now, or putting that responsibility on them. So we will work in collaboration with our tech department to find an easier way to send a mass email with your username and passwords for Accelerated Reader if you opted into that. So again, if you're joining us late, there are 5 subscriptions that are not compatible with Clever, and there will be no app or like little app or tile in Clever for those subscriptions. And so those 5 subscriptions are Adventure Academy, Beast Academy Online, Time for Learning, Minecraft Education Edition, as well as Accelerated Reader. So I will move on now to another topic, and I'm going to actually share my screen. And what I'd like to do, and that's what I actually wanted to start with, so I apologize for that, is I want to share with you the online subscription package handbook. So this is pretty much the Bible for the OSP, and it has all the information that you're going to need, everything up to date. On the first part of the page, we have the announcements. So this is, up-to-date information in real time. So if we know there's an issue, we will post about it on here. If there is something that's delayed or there's a known problem, we will also post about that on here. So this is really your primary stop, first stop for trying to find out any information for the OSP. So I highly recommend getting the online subscription package handbook. It is a link. If you don't have the link for whatever reason, you can email OSP@inspireschools.org, And if any, whatever email you send, you'll get an auto response from the OSP team, and the auto response will have a link to the OSP handbook. And Joe can probably put that in the chat if he hasn't already. Thank you. There's the email. And then if you can also link up the OSP handbook for me, Joe, that would be great as well. And we'll kind of post that throughout this open session. So as people join late, they'll be able to get the link to the handbook. So again, this is really your best resource to stop first and kind of check in to see if the answers or if your problem is resolved from the OSP handbook, because most of that information will be in here. So as of this morning, we have the link again to click more information on Clever and the login information. Pretty much all of the accounts that we started processing last week should be processed as of today. There are a few exceptions noted below, and those were primarily the 5 that I had just mentioned about not being compatible with Clever, so there might be a little hiccup with those. TutorMe is another subscription that it wasn't until we were implementing the subscriptions that we realized that required additional programming. So we are working in collaboration with TutorMe to get that programming done as quickly as possible. Their expected deliver date is August 31st, but we are really trying to get them to push that up as much as possible. But we also want to make sure that it's good to go once we roll it out, so we don't want to pressure anything. But we anticipate TutorMe being available by the 31st of August. So I do apologize for the delay on that. And then Mayon and Accelerated Reader, so those were packaged together this year. And Mayon, we are working to get that built through Clever. It kind of, because they are connected to one another through the same vendor, there was a challenge in terms of how we roll that out, because they are 2 different platforms and processing of them required different processing. So we should have Mayon hopefully by Wednesday, and Accelerated Reader we started that today, and so now the challenge is just getting the login information out to you. So if you have a really good rapport with your teacher, then you can actually ask your teacher for your Star 360 login information. They would be able to look that up, but we are trying to avoid asking our teachers to do that. So I don't want to say that to everybody to do that, but that is an option if you really do need that access right away, and you can't wait for us to get the email out to you. Then you can reach out to your teacher, and they can look up your Star 360 login information, because the 2 go hand in hand, Accelerated Reader and Star 360. Joe, I think I've covered everything on that front. ABC Mouse was another one that Joe had mentioned in a video that he was recording for us to put on the handbook, so that you guys have that wonderful resource available. Clever isn't yet available in the, ABC Mouse isn't yet available on the Clever dashboard. So they are working on getting that app set up through there. And ABC Mouse has to kind of set up those accounts first. So you should have received an email from ABC Mouse with the code that you use to redeem it. And then we will work to getting that added as an app on the Clever portal. So, but most of the other subscriptions, nearly all of them, you should have received an email notifying you from the vendor itself. So there was 2 email confirmations that went out. The first email confirmation that went out to everybody is when our OSP team actually marked those subscriptions as processed. And so once the OSP team marked those subscriptions as processed, that's what allowed us to download those reports to start setting up those subscriptions. So there is a little bit of a delay from the time the email gets sent to the subscription actually being created, and it's anywhere from 24 to 48 hours depending on the subscription. So I know a lot of you were anxious when you got the email and you logged into Clever and you're like, there's nothing there. So if you logged into Clever the first time and you saw an empty dashboard, that was because the subscriptions hadn't yet been set up yet. So if you log into Clever now, you should start seeing your subscriptions, unless it's one of the 5 that I mentioned before that aren't currently accessible through the OSP, or sorry, through Clever. And I mentioned those earlier. They are on our OSP handbook, which I listed here, and we will be updating in just a few moments with accelerated reader as well, adding to that list. If you have questions, by the way, because I keep talking and I feel like I talk too much, but if you have any questions, you can ask them in the chat. And we can also open up the floor for questions once Joe goes through the process. If you have anything to ask once Joe starts showing you how to do it. So I think this is a good segue to hand the floor over to Joe and let him walk you through accessing Clever, showing you how to access the integrated apps versus the non-integrated apps. So there's two different types of subscriptions that are available through Clever. One thing I just realized that I forgot to mention was Clever, the challenge some of you might be having, because I know we've heard some feedback from our families and we love hearing that, because as soon as we know there's an issue, we look into it and try to figure out what's going on to solve that, because we don't want you to be frustrated or not be able to access your subscription. So for those of you using a mobile device, Clever does have an app. So at least on my iPad, I was testing it out. There is a Clever app. Now, when I downloaded the app and then I tried to access so when I tried to log in from the app, then it took me to my web browser on my iPad. So when I went to the web browser and logged in from the web browser, it didn't then kick me back to the app. And so it kind of was this cyclical issue where you tried to log in, it would take you to the browser on the iPad, and then the iPad wouldn't then take you back to the app. And so it wouldn't work from the app, or sorry, it wouldn't work from the web browser. And I will explain why in just a second. But so with that said, we did contact Clever and let them know that the app isn't quite working right. So they are looking into that issue, and we do hope to have that mobile compatibility very, very soon. For now, though, you would need to use the Clever app from your computer. So you'd need to log into Clever. If you're having issues with Clever, it might be because of you using a mobile device. So we do recommend you use the computer for now, and we will hopefully get Clever to get that fixed very, very soon. The reason why it's not working on the mobile device from the web browser is because there's a few issues. It's not the same operating software, so that's issue number one. And two, for the subscriptions that are not integrated with Clever, you actually have to download an extension from your internet browser that will enable Clever to store your passwords and your usernames that first time you sign in. So for the applications or the subscriptions that are connected with Clever, so they have like a working relationship with those vendors, they have it built into their wonderful programming side of things to make it, one-stop shop. So you don't even have to know your username and password or anything. You just click on it and off you go. Now, some of the subscriptions don't have that same setup with Clever. And so we have to find a new way to make that work. And so you usually have to log in for the first time with Clever with the username and password, and then it'll store the username and password for you. So you get that single sign-on accessibility, but it only works when you download this extension. And since you can't download extensions on a mobile browser, that's where that issue is. We're running into that. So hopefully when they fix their mobile app, that will resolve some of those issues, and we can do some further testing once that's available. So that's the hope. Thank you for your patience while we work on that, and we're sorry that that wasn't even aware to, we weren't aware of that prior to the launch of the OSP. Otherwise, we would have had communicated that with you all. So, okay, I think I'm done. I will hand it over to Joe, and I will jump in there if I need to. I also help take care of the chat, kind of oversee that while Joe walks through things. And then, again, you're welcome to ask questions in the app, or sorry, in the chat box, and then we'll open up the mic at the end after Joe goes through it all so that you can ask verbal questions too. So take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Serena. And like she said, I'm just going to take you kind of through a short Clever tutorial, both of your student and parent portals. And then afterwards, we're going to open the floor up and you can ask any questions that you have regarding your specific subscriptions and how Clever works. And hopefully I could just keep sharing my screen and walk you through it. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. Serena, can you see my screen? Clever portal? Okay,
Yes,
I
I
think you're
can.
muted. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so when your subscription is processed in the enrichment ordering system, you'll receive an email with the Clever username and password, and a URL link that will take you to this page right here. And I want to emphasize that we did not give you the option to log in with Google, so you can try it with Google, but it's not going to bring you to your dashboard. So please use the login with Clever tab here. This is the only way you're going to for sure get into your subscription, or I'm sorry, your dashboard, to access your subscription. And just note, having trouble, get help signing in. I'm going to show you what that is in a few minutes, but I just wanted to point that out. Let's sign in. Oh, there we go. So like I said, when you receive the email, it's going to give you the username and the password. You can sign in right there. And so I know Serena mentioned the extension, so I wanted to walk you through what it's like when you do download the extension. It's going to come up right here, Clever extension. Get the Clever extension for one-click access to any program. So I'm going to click this. And because I'm on Chrome, it's going to immediately take me to the Chrome extension. However, it also supports, I believe it's Firefox, Clever, and Microsoft Edge, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm going to add this from Chrome. And we do want to just say that Chrome is the easiest way to do it. I think most of the subscriptions work the best through Chrome. Just a little tip for you there. Okay, and so Clever is now on my bar here, my toolbar. I'm going to turn on sync. I don't necessarily need to do that, so I'm not. Okay, so we're on the dashboard. Now we have our Clever extension, so we don't need that anymore. And we're on the dashboard. And like Serena said, there are two different types of subscriptions. There's a non-integrated subscription and an integrated subscription. The non-integrated subscriptions are essentially subscriptions that don't have a direct partnership with Clever. And so what we have to do is we take your data from the enrichment ordering system, we send it to the vendor, they create your profiles, and then they will send you an email with your username and password, or a little URL link that will allow you to activate that subscription. So something like Grammarly, if it asks for a username and a password, that's an indication that it is a non-integrated subscription. And so whenever you run into this, please don't immediately use your Clever username and password, because it's likely that it won't be the same. Again, you'll receive an activation email from Grammarly, and that's what will give you your username and password, again, or the link to activate that account. So currently, these are all non-integrated subscriptions. But I wanted to just give you an example of what an integrated subscription would be like on the dashboard. And so we already went through the process of signing in to Shmoop with the username and password. We're going to pretend that Shmoop right now is an integrated subscription and that we didn't have to sign into this app at all. And so when you get into your dashboard, an integrated subscription is going to take you directly to the subscription. Okay, so I'm on the interface. I'm already signed in. That's all I needed to do. And so that's an integrated subscription. Now, one thing that I know it's on the update, Adobe Cloud, we're working on, or Clever's working on the connection between Adobe Creative Cloud and their app right here. If you click this, it's going to kind of take you to a few different pages. But again, please stay up to date on the OSP handbook. It's super helpful. The announcements are going to be specific to each subscription, and it's going to be a minute-to-minute update here. So please stay up to date with the OSP handbook. Now, I wanted to point this out. This is a teacher page. So again, we're on the student dashboard, but this is from my teacher. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through how to get these links onto your students' dashboard to help either log into other subscriptions or even just have other resources like dictionary.com. Okay, so we're going to log out. We'll go into the parent portal. And the parent portal, again, is going to be in the same place as the student portal. Okay, so log in with Clever. I'm going to type in my parent information that I got from my email after my subscription was processed in the enrichment ordering system. And now I'm on my parent dashboard. So a few things I wanted to note. One is that these apps, you notice that the Prodigy game is on my teacher portal, but it's not on my students portal. More than likely, that's because your student is not enrolled. Your other student is. So you can see just from here, I'll just show you this really quick. This parent portal has a few different students. So under the more apps section in the parent portal, it's going to be the combination of all the apps or subscriptions that your students opted into or ordered a la carte. Okay, so it's a combination. Not all of your students are going to have every single one of these. And again, we just added the OSP handbook here and the OSP announcements URL directly for you here. So if you ever lose the email that we sent you, if you ever lose the the link, it's going to be on your Clever dashboard. Okay, and the last thing I wanted to point out, actually, I guess the second to last thing I wanted to point out to you is the pages. So this was where the resources for kiddos page was. For some reason, it's not showing up here, but I'm gonna show you at least how to add one of these pages. So you're gonna go down here to plus add, click page, and again, you go down here to plus add, and you can add a link. Okay, so what I recommend doing, especially for the subscriptions that are not compatible at all with Clever, so that's outside of the integrated and non-integrated. We're talking about the subscriptions that are completely not compatible, that will not show up on your dashboard. I'm going to just go to Time for Learning. This is one of our non-compatible subscriptions that will not be on Clever. I'm going to go to the login, copy the URL. Again, down here, little link button. So I'm going to click link, paste that Time for Learning URL right there. You can name it and categorize. This is all customizable. Did I spell that wrong? I did. There we go. And again, you can name this whatever you would like. Okay, so here we go. So now I have Time for Learning as a direct link. Now, again, it's not exactly the same as an integrated or non-integrated subscription, but if you'd like to have all your subscriptions in the same place, it is helpful to have this URL. Now, if you'd like for your students to see it, you go up here to the top right, you click share, and I just recommend sending it to all your students. It's not likely that you'll have more than 5, 6, 7 students, depending on how many students are enrolled in Inspire. We do have our demo accounts that are a little bit bigger, but so again, you have the choice to send it to just your students who, let's say, Joe Demo is in Kids Discovery Online, and you know that Joe Demo is the only student you have that's going to have the Time for Learning app, so you can actually just send it to Joe Demo. But again, I just recommend sending it to all your students. It's a little bit easier. Click save. Okay, so it's successfully edited. Now, when I log into Audrey's page, which I'll do in a second, this is going to be on her dashboard. And again, you can kind of see her right here. So those are the pages. And again, those are customizable. I highly recommend going in and just experimenting. What URLs would work and what wouldn't work. It's up to you and your discretion, but I recommend going in there and checking it out for yourself. It's always better to do some hands-on learning. The other thing I wanted to point out was this apps button. You will not be able to add apps from the OSP department without opting in to those subscriptions on the enrichment ordering system or ordering them a la carte. Now, there are free apps in Clever, from what I've heard, that you can add through this. But again, you won't be able to add, let's say, Rosetta Stone and get a subscription there. You'd have to go through the enrichment ordering system. Okay, the last thing before we open it up to some questions. Go back here. A little too fast. If your student forgets their Clever password, their Clever username or Clever password, and let's say you're in a hurry, there's a ton of things going on. You have work and you got the kids in the morning and you have to get them lunch and then you have to do this and that and X, Y, and Z. This is going to be super helpful for you. And what you're going to do is essentially just click this help a student. And I'm sorry if I didn't mention, this is when your student forgets their password. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I'm going to say it again. So let's say Audrey forgets her password, and I don't know, there's a million other passwords that I have to keep track of. So I'm just going to click Audrey here. I'm going to copy this code here. And so when Audrey is trying to log in, again, this is what I showed you at the beginning. Get help signing in. Students log in with a backup code. You're going to paste what you copied on the parent portal, and now Audrey is in. Okay? And here we see, this is the page that we just created. So Time for Learning is going to be in here. So if Audrey is subscribed to Time for Learning, and again, it's not compatible with Clever, they will have to remember their information, and it may just save on your laptop, computer. Again, we have been having some trouble with iPhones and mobile devices. But again, it's just super helpful to have kind of everything in one space. I'm sure most of you can agree. And with that, I believe that's everything. With that, we do want to just open it up. I don't know, Serena, if there's anything else you wanted to point out before we open it up to questions, go ahead and take over. If not, then I'll stay on this page. I'll keep sharing and we can start answering questions.
No, we're good. So if anyone wants to unmute themselves to ask questions, you may do that now. So if Janet, we have you unmuted. Did you have a question, Janet?
I'm looking at the Clever platform, and we have certain apps that they say they've been processed and they've been put onto our page, but we can't get access to them because even though that they are integrated, so they shouldn't have an extra password, but it's not letting us log in. Is there a reason for, I mean, are we supposed to put something else in before we do that? I'm in particular looking at IXL.
IXL, okay. So IXL,
and are you using it, really quick, are you using it from a mobile device or from your computer?
Laptop.
Your laptop, okay, perfect. Joe, go ahead.
So again, this is super helpful to have on the announcements page. So IXL is actually currently being worked on. The app is going to show up on your Clever dashboard because your information is now on Clever, but
Okay.
we're waiting on the vendor to actually communicate back to Clever and accept that partnership. So it's going to take another, I would venture to guess, another day or so to get IXL created. Now, again, there are going to be apps that sometimes they're just completely not on Clever, and sometimes they'll be on Clever but not activated yet by the vendor. And it's just the nature of the start of the launch. Rest assured, that is in the works. They're working on creating your account now.
Okay, is that the same thing that's happening for Kids Discover Online?
That is a good question. So I know we've run into a few things, and we actually just were communicating with Kids Discover. Is your student renewing their subscription?
No.
Okay. So okay, it is here. Cool. So when you go to Kids Discover, is the app on your dashboard first?
Yeah, the app is on the dashboard, and then when I try to log in, it says, do you have a Kids Discover Online account already? And I'm assuming no. Do I push
Right.
no or push yes?
So you do want to push no. So when you push no, and what you should have received by Kids Discover, if that is if they've created your accounts yet, and maybe that's something we need to double check. They should send you a classroom code, and that's where you put this in and create a student account.
Okay, so far all it says is create account and then creation failed. So I'm like, okay.
When you put the classroom code in here.
No, as soon as you click no, it's immediately you get a classroom failed.
Oh.
Creation failed. So I was like, okay.
Okay, and let me just make sure so I can visualize it. When you click this button right here.
That's right. I'm going to click no, and then as soon as I click it, I get to what did it say? It says creating account, creation failed, and then alert failed to create account, classroom not found.
Huh. Okay, we'll have to reach out to Kids Discover for that one. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. We didn't realize that the Kids Discover was not communicating well with Clever, but we're going to reach out to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry about that.
And then for Mango Languages, is that the same idea? I have to wait for them to give me a password and a username, because so far the original, the email that I thought we just used, the email or the username that comes with Clever, that's not the same one for Mango.
Right. So exactly. So you'll have to wait on Mango Languages to send you an activation email, and I would stay up to date with your spam as well, because every once in a while one of these subscriptions just ends up in your spam, and it's kind of lost in translation. And
I went through spam. There's nothing in spam. So I was like, okay.
Okay. So it should be launched on your dashboard. And again, you'll have to just wait on the vendor to send you an activation email.
Okay. And then for the ones that aren't on there, in particular Beast Academy Online, do we have to contact Beast Academy for a code or a password or something, or does it automatically generate because it's been 3 days?
Right. So it will automatically generate. I do know that I believe Beast Academy is one that's taking us just slightly longer than we expected over the weekend.
Okay.
So, and the other ones for Adventure Academy is one, Minecraft is another, Mayon, or I'm sorry, AR Accelerated Reader, and then Time for Learning. They're all going to send you either a code to create your account. So you'll take that code, you'll go into the website, and then it'll say, do you have a code, or do you have an account that you already have, or any of those kinds of things, and it'll direct you. But yeah, for those that are not involved with Clever, are also going to send you an activation email.
Okay, I have one question for the Minecraft one.
Okay.
I can see we've already downloaded it. We've already been able to play with it a little bit. So far, only the kid can go onto it, and so when they create their projects or whatever, the website says like, oh, the way that a teacher can assess their work is that the kid can take a picture of it and then send it to the teacher's file. How are we supposed to access it if the teacher doesn't have an account?
So Inspire teachers can request an account, but we can't give Minecraft education accounts to parents because it requires an Inspire email address, and those are only available to staff. So, and the way we created the student accounts, they were more like login or like usernames and not actual email accounts. So that's why we won't be able to issue parent accounts for the Minecraft education. But if your student's teacher wants a Minecraft education subscription, then they can contact the OSP team and request that, and we can have it set up for them.
Okay, so they could just send the project directly to the homeschool teacher.
Yeah, if they request the app, the teacher would have to request that. Now, I would say a lot of our teachers might not be very well acquainted with Minecraft, so it might be a little bit of an enigma for them. But yeah, if they want to request that and have that, then they can do that, certainly. But most of it was most of the kids just want it to play Minecraft. It wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot that can be done with it, but the dynamic of our independent study program, it's not really set up the same way that classrooms are set up. So I could see that being a little bit of a challenge, depending on how the child's using it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Of course, thank you. All right. Anyone else? You're welcome to unmute yourself and ask questions. You can also ask questions in the chat. So Joe, in case people are like logging in late, can you just go ahead and go through Clever, like logging in as a parent, logging as a student? Did you, and I was trying to answer questions in the chat, so I didn't see, did you show them how to like set up links,
Yes.
resources? Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I could start from scratch.
Yeah, let's go ahead
Okay.
and just start over. And then
Well, I'm gonna
if
remove
anyone wants to just jump in and ask a question, feel free to interrupt away since we've already covered this with Joe, but you're welcome to ask questions in the chat or just grab the mic at this point and ask your questions.
Okay. Well, we're going to do another tutorial of Clever. So if you came in a little bit late, again, like Serena said, if you have a question, go ahead and shoot your question on the comment section, and we'll get to it. So I'm going to give you just another little tutorial of Clever. So after you receive, or after your subscriptions are processed on the enrichment ordering system, you'll receive an email with a username and password for Clever. And Serena did mention earlier that when you receive that email, it actually takes us a few hours after that to set up your Clever account. So let's say you receive the email at 9:10 in the morning, and then you try to log in at 9:15. It's highly likely that your account won't be set up yet. It does take us some time to pull your data and then upload it here. So my first recommendation would be to wait just a few hours and then try it again later that day. And if it doesn't work, in a full 24 hours, then at that point you can reach out to us at osp@inspireschools.net. Okay, so we're going to go through the Clever tutorial again. And again, you're going to receive username and password through the email after your subscriptions are processed through the EOS. It'll give you a link even to this portal. And this portal, again, is you can sign in as a student and a parent right here on this portal. But I'm going to sign in as a student first and show you how kind of initially you're going to be able to do it. Okay, I'm signed in. Now, the first thing that I notice is this Clever extension. This Clever extension is necessary to link Clever to your browser that then will take you to your subscription. So this is a necessary extension. It's offered in Chrome. It's offered with Firefox and Microsoft Edge. And it will go, if you're on the Microsoft Edge browser, it'll take you to the Edge extension. But so I'm on Chrome, so it's going to take me directly to the Chrome extension. I'm going to add an extension here. Okay. So I have the extension. I am on my student portal, and I have a few different subscriptions here that are either integrated and non-integrated. And if you came in a little bit late, I just want to go over that briefly. There are two different types of subscriptions. One is non-integrated and one is integrated. The integrated subscriptions essentially have a partnership with Clever that if you click the icon here on your dashboard, it will take you directly to the site. You'll never have to input a username or a password. You'll just click right in after you've signed into Clever, and it'll take you right to the subscription. Now, Shmoop is a non-integrated subscription, but as an example, we signed in earlier, so we're just going to act like we signed in to this account for the first time, and we're signing into Shmoop as a integrated subscription. So as soon as I click the icon, I'm in. My subscription is already active. We are good to go. And again, if you have the teacher account, there is a magic word. I believe we sent that out in an email of just a few days ago, along with the passwords. So we apologize for the few day delay with the passwords for Shmoop, if you have Shmoop. Okay, so back to the dashboard. Again, this is it's just an example of an integrated subscription. If you get into your Clever dashboard and you are able to click directly into the subscription without a username or password, that is an integrated subscription. It's also listed, I believe it's here. It's also listed on the OSP handbook, which is a super helpful guide. It has a ton of information. If you're
Joe, I'm going to interject really quick because there's a lot of questions in the chat.
okay, great.
And some of the ones that I'm answering privately might address this issue. So if you're joining late, there are a couple of things to note. There are 5 subscriptions. Here, let me share my video really quick so you can see me talking. So there are 5 subscriptions that are not compatible with Clever. So you will not be able to access those subscriptions through Clever. When you log into Clever, you will not be able to see those subscriptions. So everybody kind of received that same initial confirmation email from the online subscription package from the EOS. And we are working to get that updated because we've now discovering that that doesn't apply to these 5 subscriptions, which we didn't know ahead of time. So the 5 subscriptions that are not compatible with Clever whatsoever are Time for Learning, Beast Academy. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I remember them all. So Time for Learning, Beast Academy, Adventure Academy, Minecraft Education Edition, as well as Accelerated Reader. So Adventure Academy and Minecraft Education, those are downloads. You will actually receive an email with the instructions on how to download those applications. And then Beast Academy Online, you should receive a separate email from Beast Academy with the login information or the code to activate that. According to Joe, there was a delay on Beast Academy's end, so we sent them the information on the 15th, but it's taking them a little bit longer to get those subscriptions set up. So I would anticipate those emails coming through any day now. So that would be for Beast Academy. Time for Learning, the same thing. Time for Learning, you won't be able to access it through Clever. You will receive a separate email from Time for Learning with your username and password. So you would just go to Time for Learning directly and log in with the username and password that you received from Time for Learning in an email. And now, if you didn't get that email in your inbox, I do recommend searching for your spam folder. But just note that some of those emails actually won't be in there, which I didn't know about Beast Academy until Joe had mentioned it. So like if Beast Academy is one of the ones you signed up yet for and you search your spam folder, that email won't be in there, but Time for Learning should definitely be in there. Minecraft Education, I know for sure went in there because I had one sent to me as a trial to test it to make sure that was working properly. Adventure Academy also went out, so you should have gotten that. Accelerated Reader, we just started being given the capacity to create those accounts because they have to be set up very distinctly through the school's account because they're kind of connect to our Star 360 accounts, which you all use for testing in the first part of the year and the later part of the year. So we haven't found a way to send those notification emails out yet. The initial email that you get is just from the EOS, kind of alerting you that it's been marked processed in the EOS. There is still a lot of work that goes in on the back end to getting the subscriptions actually set up. So when we say that we start processing them on the 15th, that doesn't mean you actually have access to them on the 15th. There were several that you did get access to right away, but there are some that take a little bit longer because there's a lot of legwork involved in terms of creating those accounts or getting those activated. So if you're having issues with any of those 5 subscriptions I just mentioned, Adventure Academy, you'll get a separate email. Check your spam for that. You should have already gotten it. Beast Academy Online, that email should be coming very, very soon if you haven't already gotten it. Time for Learning, again, that email should have already have come, so double check your spam folder for that one. Minecraft Education Edition, that email went out with the instructions for how to download and log in, so you should be able to find that email in your spam if you don't have it in your inbox. And Accelerated Reader, those were just set up today, but we're finding how to get you the information in terms of your login information. So we hope to have that out by Wednesday morning at the latest, hopefully. So if you're having issues with any of those subscriptions, I just kind of want to throw that out there because that seems to be the bulk of the ones that we're finding we're getting a lot of emails for. So Time for Learning, you got the email, you won't actually be able to log into Clever. So we are updating that mass email that goes out to everyone when they're processed. So that doesn't fix that for you. I'm so sorry, but that did help us learn that there was this problem and then we were able to get that fixed. So Time for Learning, you will not access through Clever, and same for those other 4 that I just mentioned. The other thing that I wanted to point out from the chat, was, let me see, Mayan. So Mayan and Rosetta, that was another two someone was asking about. So those actually just, Mayan isn't quite set up yet because they kind of, again, it goes with accelerated reader in a very different sort of way. So we are working on getting those set up. And then Rosetta Stone, Joe, were you able to get those? I think you started that today.
Am I unmuted? Okay, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, those are going to be, the Rosetta Stone accounts are going to be set up overnight. So the latest that you'll be able to access Rosetta Stone will be tomorrow. That is if you opted in or ordered a la carte within the last 2 or 3 days, including the 15th. So
Okay.
I guess, yeah, if you've opted in or ordered a la carte before right now, then yes, it'll be tomorrow.
Perfect. So with the Rosetta Stone, just to explain, again, there's a lot of work that goes into like rolling these out for you. Rosetta Stone, the reports that were pulled didn't actually indicate the language. So we had all the information except what language you picked. So we obviously can't set up the subscriptions without the languages. So we've just got that fixed and we were able to get the report this morning with the languages. And that's why those haven't been created just yet either. So Mayan and Rosetta haven't been set up yet. So when you go to log into Clever, if you find that you're not able to log in, that's because Clever hasn't actually set up your accounts yet because those accounts aren't created yet. So as Joe mentioned earlier, if you try to log into Clever and it's not working, try back again in like a day or two, and then it should work because then those subscriptions are set up. But we're finding that some of the disconnect is that a few of the subscriptions, although we started the process on the 15th, they're taking a little bit longer to actually create. So that's kind of what's piling into this, disconnect in terms of you trying to log into Clever and not being able to log in. So I think, Corey, that was the same issue. Like the subscriptions just aren't active yet, which is why the Clever login isn't working just yet. So that should help resolve that problem. And then I think that's actually, Lisa had mentioned the same thing. So I've waited more than 24 hours and I'm still not able to log into Clever. So Lisa, if you can specify what subscriptions you opted in for, that might help me and Joe better troubleshoot the issue. It might just be that the subscriptions that you opted in for aren't active yet, and or they're not available through Clever. So those 5 that I mentioned a few moments ago won't actually be in Clever. And that might be what's contributing to that. So if, so thank you, Corey. She's like, thank you, that answers my question. So
that's great.
Yeah, I apologize. I know it's been a little bit frustrating for many of our families, and that's why we wanted to have these office hours. I apologize. I know one of the families is asking, how do we share this information? We're here, we're trying to serve you, we're just finding the best way to do it. And so it was really last minute, just put this, get this going, put it out there, put it in the email notification, put it on the handbook so that the links are there. But regrettably, because we did this to answer the demands of our families, we weren't able to send the email out to everybody. The teachers weren't able to get that in their newsletter and share that out. So we do apologize for the kind of delay in that, but we're here to try to help and make sure that it's not as frustrating. I know many of you are anxious to get started with your subscriptions, which just tickles my heart because we're here. We really love the OSP. The whole reason why we built this was for you and your students and your families to have some amazing resources this year. So I do apologize for the frustration with that initial start. And bear with us. It will get better. It will work out. And just we're kind of ironing out the wrinkles as we go. So thank you for your patience on that. And then Lisa, if you want to take the mic and or put in the comments, what the subscriptions were that you opted in for. You can also private message me. If you give me your parent email or your student information, I can go in and look that up as well. There we go. So Elefingo, Tinker, Discovery Education, Minecraft, Kids Discover, Adventure Academy, and Vocabulary. So this Adventure Academy will come as a separate email that won't be in Clever. Tinker, and same thing with Minecraft. So you should have received 2 emails directly about those 2 subscriptions. Joe, can you answer regarding Elefingo, Tinker, Discovery Education, Kids Discover, and Vocabulary? Should those be in Clever? Those should already be in Clever.
So vocabulary is not in Clever yet. That one is, we're still waiting on the vendor to create the accounts. Kids Discover Online is in Clever. We did also go over just kind of what it looks like to start. So you should have received an email from Kids Discover with the classroom code. And so when you click the Clever portal for Kids Discover, it's a little bit different than what we say a non-integrated subscription is, like Mango Languages. It'll ask you here. But for Kids Discover, it's going to take you directly to the site, and then it's going to ask, are you connected to an existing account? Are you creating a new one? So I'm gonna assume that maybe you're creating a new one, or either way, it's going to ask you for basically the same information. So it'll give you a classroom code. That's where you type this in here and create student account, and it'll ask you it'll kind of do a pop-up connect to Clever, and that's how you can connect the two Kids Discover. The other one, let's see, what did I forget? Elefango should be launched and working. I would suggest, or actually Lisa, and you could just about to do. Okay. I would suggest, or I guess let me ask you this: do you have the app on the Clever dashboard? You can just comment yes or no if you're still around. Oh.
Yeah, she says she hasn't been able to log into Clever. Lisa, can you private message me so it's not going to everyone? From the chat box, there's a to everyone is the default. If you click on that and select me from the drop down, send me your either your student name or the parent email address that you use to log into the OSP, and I can look into that for you on my end.
And Lisa, just off the top of my head, we did process data early on the 15th. So it's very possible that your subscriptions are still pending, which means you would not have emails or login information to Clever.
Oh, that's a good point, Joe.
Yeah.
So,
but sorry.
Joe, sorry, go ahead, Dan.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so that's a really good point that Joe makes, is that we started processing subscriptions on the 15th. So those reports were pulled. If you opted in or you selected a la carte on or before the 14th, then those are the accounts that were pulled and created. If you opted in on the 15th or after that, then there are no subscriptions set up for you just yet. But I would imagine, Lisa, you should have gotten an email because you're saying that, logging into Clever, she wouldn't know how to log in unless she got that email. So I'm assuming that is not the case for Lisa, but we will look into that. Thank you, Lisa, for sending me that information. I'm going to look into it. Okay, go ahead, Joe, take it away. And then I'm going to look into Lisa's thing.
Okay. So I think where we left off was the extension. Is that correct?
Yeah, sorry.
somewhere around there, I think. It's okay. Okay, so after you hit the extension, it's going to show up on your web browser, so you'll see it. You can click it here. It'll take you to Clever, I think. Oh, look at that. It does. I didn't even know that. I learn something new every day. Okay. So after I had the extension, again, I'm not sure if I mentioned it, but it's creating a partnership between your web browser and Clever itself. So now, because I have this extension, when I click Grammarly, when I click Schmoop, and after I put in my information, or if it's integrated, I just click, that's how it takes me directly to the app. Okay. And again, Schmoop is a non-integrated subscription. We're just kind of using it as an example, as an integrated one. Again, and you'll just log into your Clever dashboard and click right in. So a non-integrated subscription, and we've mentioned it a few times, non-integrated subscription is going to ask you for a username and password. And this is not the same username and password that you got from us for your Clever information. So you'll receive you'll receive a direct email from Grammarly or the subscription that is non-integrated within either one of two things: the username and password just directly, they'll just give it to you and then you sign in, or they'll give you a link to activate your account. So you'll click the link and then you type in a password that you're creating, and then you're good to go. And so again, the reason why we wanted to use Clever is because it's a single sign-on option. So you can see that Grammarly here is going to ask for your username and password, but once you get the activation email from Grammarly and you put your information in here, that's it. That's the only time you'll have to put your information in, like Schmoop. So if we go to Schmoop, again, this is technically a non-integrated subscription that we first put the information into, and now every time I go, it takes me right there. It doesn't ask for more information. It already has it saved. Okay. So this is a student dashboard. It's simple for the most part. Obviously kind of frustrating the last few days because we don't know what subscriptions are on or off. Again, please stay up to date with the announcements tab. You'll be able to see each subscription. So let's say Elefango. I know Lisa was asking about Elefango. Let's say your subscriptions in the EOS have been processed and Elefango is launched. That's when you can send us an email and say, hey, we didn't get any, it's not on Clever, or we didn't receive our login information or what have you. But please, again, just stay up to date with this. It's very clear. So if the app isn't on in Clever, it makes sense that it's not on your dashboard. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to point out before I move on is the pages. And we created this a little bit earlier. I'll go ahead and just create another one. But when you access your parent portal, you can actually create links to different websites. I mean, really anything that you would like that's supplementary, that's even just another non-compatible subscription. It's totally up to you. I recommend putting links to subscriptions that are not compatible with Clever. But regardless, we're going to go ahead into the parent portal and check that out. And the parent portal is going to be in the same place as the student portal. Again, it will be on an email that you are sent after your subscriptions are processed in the EOS. And I mentioned this before, please log in with Clever. If you log in with Google, I can't guarantee it's going to work. I can guarantee that if you log in with Clever, if your subscriptions are processed in the EOS, if I have updated the EOS, if I have updated Clever with your information, if all those things align, if the stars align, you will have your Clever account. So we're going to go ahead and sign in here. And again, I'm just going to highlight this. This is a great troubleshooting tool. I'll show it to you in a few minutes here, but just wanted to highlight that before we go in. And again, if there are any questions or comments, you can use the comments section. We would love to give you some specialized or some special attention, I guess. I don't really know how to, words. I need to go back to school. Okay, here we go. So on the parent portal, you can see that, in the student portal that I had, Prodigy is actually not on there. So this is a combination of all the subscriptions that your students have that are compatible with Clever. So if you see Prodigy up there, that doesn't necessarily mean that all of your students have Prodigy. That just means that at least one of your students is subscribed to Prodigy. And so something like Typing Agent, where you actually receive parent access to reporting and progress tracking, that it will take you to your parent portal. And this is also if it's a single sign-on or a non-integrated subscription, you can put in your parent information or even your student information into this section. And again, it will ask you once and it won't ask you again. You can keep going in. Let's see if I forgot anything there. No, I think that's it. One other thing, this is just a direct link to the OSP handbook. There's two. This is to the announcements tab. Again, super helpful to just stay up to date. And the other one is to the homepage, which we have kind of just a 10-minute tutorial of Clever. I'm going to be creating another one later on in the afternoon that will go up on the OSP handbook, the login information section. It's just going to be a little bit more helpful than that 10-minute one was. Okay, so if you wanted to add a page, which again is like this time for learning page here, you're going to go ahead and click add down here at the bottom and click page. and it's gonna take you into this little dashboard. And now, just for the sake, because I've already created one, I'm just gonna go back in here. But when you do create one, it'll take you to this dashboard, and of course, when you just create it, it's not gonna have any apps in there or links. So from here, if you wanted to give your students, let's say dictionary.com, they're going through Rosetta Stone, they're confused about a word. I'm gonna go to dictionary.com. And I'm going to copy the URL. You can also just type it in. I like to copy and paste a lot. And you're going to click the add button on the bottom right here. Paste the link or type it in here in the link section. You can name it dictionary. Categorize it. I'm just going to leave it with other subscriptions for now. Or actually, I'm going to do resources. Try something new. Why not? Okay. So now I have a new category for resources. There's a dictionary. And in order to share this with your students, you just click the share button, and you can share it with all your students, which I recommend. It's a little bit easier. You don't have to go through and figure out which student is in which subscription, or we all know how memory and all that stuff goes. So you could choose, like, let's say you had 2 students in Grammarly, and you wanted them to have a dictionary.com. This would be a great, yeah, you can click this little class right here, and it'll send to all those students. But again, I just recommend sending it to all your students. It's a little bit easier. Okay, and that's the page. You can customize the name, you can customize the colors. This is up to you. But again, it's super helpful to have the links of even the non-compatible subscriptions here. If you ever get lost or tired of typing, that other URL and get lost all the time. So super helpful. The last thing I wanted to show is this help a student dashboard. Essentially, if your student is having trouble remembering their passwords, and if you're a parent, you got 1 kid, they have 5 subscriptions, they have 5 passwords, it's a struggle. So we understand that, and the reason why we wanted to use Clever in the first place is to help you, to help ease your mind, so that you have 20 less passwords you have to remember or memorize. Anyways, here we go. So if your student, let's say Audrey demo, we were in Audrey's student portal earlier. Let's say Audrey is at the login page and forgets her password. So I log into my parent portal. I want to help my student out. I want to help Audrey. And it's going to give you a code, okay? So the backup code for Audrey demo. I'm going to copy this. Log out. And I hinted at this at the very beginning, this little sign in, or troubleshooting sign in. So I'm going to click that. Log in with the backup code, the one I just copied from my parent portal. There we go. I'm going to paste. And I'm in. And this is Audrey's account. Okay, and again, this is the page that I created on my parent portal that now has both Time for Learning and Dictionary. So if Audrey has a Time for Learning subscription that's not compatible with Clever, they could still just go into Clever and click right into here, so that everything is in one place. And if they have a Grammarly subscription, they're struggling with some kind of weird, difficult words, you got a dictionary. Again, it's totally customizable, up to you. I'd highly recommend experimenting a little bit in your teacher portal, parent portal, excuse me, and yeah, seeing how many options you have. And so that's it for the Clever tutorial. If there's any questions, go ahead. You can unmute. You can even just write in the comment section, whatever you would like. We're here for another, I believe, hour or so. So we would like to answer any questions you have, any concerns. And Serena, again, if you have anything else that I missed, go ahead and jump into it.
So Lisa, I looked into your kiddos' accounts, and those subscriptions haven't been processed yet. So that's why you're not able to log into Clever, because the subscriptions actually haven't been processed. They were submitted on the 15th, but we had already pulled all the reports. from the 14th. So we started processing on the 15th, but everything was pulled from really early that morning, like the wee hours of the morning they started working. So those subscriptions were submitted on the 15th in the evening, and they haven't been processed yet. So you will be able to access Clever once those subscriptions have been processed. You'll get the email from the enrichment ordering system. And when you get that email, it'll be 24 to 48 hours before everything kind of goes live in Clever. So there is a little bit of a delay from the time that we mark it processed to the subscriptions actually getting set up. And that's why you're not able to actually log into Clever. So you're welcome. Thank you.